So if I started a church security team today, what would I do differently than what I did before, or the same? What would I recommend for you to do? The first thing I'd recommend is reverse engineering the process. What do you want the team to do? In the end, what is that team supposed to do? So what do you need to accomplish to get to that point? Do you want them to be armed, unarmed? What is their focus going to be? It might be different for each church. You don't want them armed. That's going to be a different focus than an unarmed church security team. We want them to focus on likely issues. That's what I would think of. Too many teams these days get right to focusing on violence, armed invaders or armed intruders of the church. And that is actually highly unlikely to happen, but you are likely to have medical emergencies or service interruptions where somebody stands up and wants to interrupt your church service or your worship time. And then there's custodial issues that are likely to happen. And of course, restraining order violations. People are in crisis when they come to your church. So sometimes they're not getting along in their relationships as one of the reasons they end up at church. The second thing that I would suggest to you is research. Research training, research trends, research the tools that you might need to accomplish number one, the things that you figured out that you want this team to do. What do you need? Maybe you're even looking at what training, who can you get to do the training locally? And what are the trends in church security? There's all kinds of studies. The Bureau of Justice Statistics does some great studies, and there's other ones that we've talked about even in the last couple of months on this channel that you can look at to see what do you need to be focused on, or what do you need to be prepared for. And what tools do you need for the process? What's happening at churches like yours? We want to answer those questions. What training should we have? What are the entry training requirements? What's the base level? Are you going to pick an 8-hour class? We've got training here. If you look in the description, if you're on Church Security Answer Man, you can go there, churchsecurityanswerman.com, and there's all kinds of training there. Or find other resources to get some basic training, to get your team on the same page. How or where, all of that kind of stuff. And what do we need to get started? What radios? Do you need a medical bag? Those are the first things that come to my mind in this process, because you've decided what you're going to do, what's your level of security that you're going to have, and what kind of tasks are they going to be focused on, and then what tools do you need for that process. And then I think third, you need to start recruiting team members. What you want them to do is going to guide who you're going to recruit and what you need to do. So start looking for those team members, and I would go direct. I would not put a notice in the bulletin, the church bulletin, or make an announcement from the pulpit. I would not do those kind of things. I would go to direct to people that have that experience, like former military folks, law enforcement, former law enforcement, probation, corrections officers, firefighters, EMTs, or people who you feel can make good judgments. Maybe you don't have any of those folks in any of those professions that would make great team members, but you're looking at who makes great decisions in your church, who is some standout folks that would make great decisions, and let them start their training in that process and help them get trained up to where they're better for that position. Start organizational meetings and trainings would be number 4 for me. And so, best person to do some training on whatever topic you're looking at. And you've chosen those topics probably in around point number 2 that we talked about. So what topics do you need? Who can you get to train on that topic? And again, where can you find basic courses? Here in the description, or go do some research for your basic stuff, or put together your own basic training. Start team operation is number 5 for me. I think, picking a day, picking a service that you're going to start, getting everybody trained up by that time. So it's obviously going to be out a ways. 2 or 3 months out is when you're going to start this process, in my opinion. I'm just giving you advice. And then you're going to be getting everybody up to training as best you can. It's not a perfect situation, so you're going to do the best job you can, and then begin to deploy those folks. And, and in here, in your starting your operation, where are you going to put folks? That's an important part of this starting the team operation. Where are you going to position people? and it's based on what you wanted to do. If one of the things you wanted to do was prevent service interruptions, then you got to have somebody maybe stationed in the auditorium area. But more importantly, like we talk about all the time, is your entrances, minimizing those entrances. Putting one person in the lobby or at the entrance is a very efficient way to operate. Maybe you're wanting to really protect the kids zone, so you're going to put somebody from security in the kids zone. So that's the kind of stuff you start the operation with. And then, next is going to be the natural thing for us to do. And number 6 is review your operation. What's going well? What's working? And, what is not working for you? Who's doing well and maybe who's not doing well? Maybe there's some people that shouldn't be on your team, or certainly shouldn't be the primary person on your team. You've got all kinds of places where you can move people and use their skill set level or their ability to observe their levels. We can put people from the parking lot to the important positions at the lobby, the primary entrance, all the way through the rest of your facility, wherever you might need those folks. But we want to review that after a certain time period. I would say after, you may be starting a process the day after you're reviewing what happened the first day, and then maybe a month or two after, and then maybe 3 or 4 months after, you're reviewing how things are going. What do you need to change? What's not working? It's really going to be an ongoing process. So it's not going to happen overnight for you, especially if you're pretty new to security. You don't want to be too hard on yourself. You want to be giving yourself some time. You're learning along the way as a leader, and your team is learning along the way, and they're learning to work together and learning to do what needs to be done. And number 7 is, repeat what's going on, what's working, improve what's not working, and where do we need more, where do we need more training, better training, where do we need to make improvements to this, or maybe there's some areas where we just need to cut it out. Maybe we can't find 4 people every week to do security, so seems like we can only find 2. So where are we going to put those 2 people to be the most efficient, so that we're not stretched too thin every week? So, and again, those end up being important places like the lobby entrance or your main areas that people are coming in. And then I think in this repeat what is working, I think in this number 7, we also have to look at starting to document. I'm not a person who thinks you need to document and have policies up front. I do think you need policies at some point to formalize the process, but I think you can start writing those policies here in step 7 after you've begun to do some of this operation. And I know there'll be people that completely disagree with me, and that's okay. Leave a comment in the description below and tell me what you think. But the reality is, from my experience and doing these church security operations, it rarely really works to do your policies and your written stuff up front. It needs to be down the road just a little bit, a couple months, few months. And I've even seen things as much as a year or 2 down the road. But eventually, insurance companies are going to demand that you have a policy. Your leadership should want you to have a policy as well, and that you're training on and that you're following that. So how long do you think this will take? And we talk about these 7 steps. I think it will probably take you a year, at least a year, to get this process going well. You might be able to do it in 6 months, but to gather all of this information, to do the research, to get good people, to refine things and review, make some adjustments and training and changes, and begin to work on your written stuff is going to take you a year, maybe more, to do that, depending on your personality and the amount of time you have for leading this or volunteering for this. It's going to take some time. Please leave a comment down below. Also, like and subscribe. I want to connect with you, and I want you to see our material when it becomes available. And also, take a look at this next video in your journey in church security to help you get more focused.